Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Zoom. Hello. Welcome to our Zoom on Europe. We're so happy to see you here today. We're excited to talk about Europe today, and we have a number of wow listers with us who are Europe specialists. And we've organized this Zoom because right now is a very rare opportunity to experience Europe with none of the crowds and all of the perks this fall and winter. And we've invited these clever local travel experts who are on our wow list because they're participating in our Europe exclusive. And if you don't know what our Europe exclusive is by now, right after this Zoom, go to the homepage at WendyPerrin.com and it's right there, and read about it because it is truly a special, rare opportunity, and it's only available for 10 days longer. I'll keep you in suspense about the rest of that. In any case, let me introduce a couple of members of the team here. Billy Cohen, who is Billy, well, why don't you introduce yourself and say hi?
Hi, I'm Billy. A lot of you know me. It's great to have you all here. I look forward to talking about Europe with you. And I just wanted to remind everyone, I will be putting lots of links in the chat, but we'll also be sending out relevant links and everything in a newsletter after. So look for that. And if you have questions, which I know a lot of you do, please put them in the Q&A box. That's better for us to keep track of them. So we'll be answering those as well as some of the questions that were submitted ahead of time. Thanks.
Thank you, Billy. And I also want to introduce Brooke. Many of you know Brooke because she answers your questions all day long when you write to questions at WendyPerrin.com. Brooke, you want to say hi?
Yeah, hi everyone. It's great to see familiar names in our attendee box popping up. As Wendy said, I'm on the other end of a lot of the emails you send to us. Wendy and I offer a personalized trip recommendation through something called Ask Wendy. If you go to our homepage, you can find that too in the black navigation bar at the top of the screen. So it's great to have you all here with us.
Great, thank you, Brooke. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Our wow listers who are with us today, who are part of our Europe exclusive, are many of them are over in Europe right now, where it is 1 in the morning or even 2 in the morning. So I want to call on those night owls first. Let's start with Jennifer Virgilio, who is in Rome right now, and I think just took a little nap.
Yes, I did. Just woke up a little while ago.
Awesome. So Jennifer, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it's like on the ground right now you're there in Rome, in Italy and France, but also, is anything closed? Is anything unavailable? What's the atmosphere?
No, it's life as usual. It's lively. Everything is open. Everyone's very positive. The feedback that we're getting from clients who are traveling right now, that they feel safer here than they do in the US. That's a common theme. That they're really enjoying themselves, and you don't really feel the pressures of COVID or anything while you're here, and that they're able to experience it in a relaxed environment. We're hearing people that have seen the Mona Lisa for the first time because there's no crowds in front of it. Billy got to see that actually, like that. Ticket offices are closed, so tickets to museums really need to be pre-purchased. But other than that, everything is open. So there's really no better time to come than in the next 6 months, because I think next year will be really back to normal again if it continues this way.
Exactly. That's why we've got our special offer, the special opportunity, Europe exclusive right now, basically through the end of February. So can you share maybe a couple of savvy tips for navigating France and Italy nowadays?
Just being prepared. If you're coming to France, definitely signing up on the government website for your EU Digital Health Pass in advance. But if you don't get it, because there is a lot of, there's really no rhyme or reason to their methodology of how they're issuing this pass, but it is mandatory. Otherwise, you have to keep getting, I don't know if you're familiar, otherwise you have to keep getting the antigen test done every 3 days to walk around with your digital health pass. But we just, prior to around mid-September, we were very successful in getting the pass sanitaires for our clients. Then the government intervened and they shut down all the pharmacies from doing it. But now we actually have a pharmacy on the ground that can convert it for you again. But you have to go there in person. But still, it's better than having to test every 3 days or be worried about not getting your health pass. So there's always constant changes to make your life as easy as possible while you're traveling.
Great. Jennifer,
Italy is very open. I mean, your CDC card is more than enough to get around in Italy. So that's really
you
all
use it to get
need.
into indoor venues in Italy, yes?
Yes. In France, what's interesting is that they ask you for the pass sanitaire even when you sit outside. But if you enter a restaurant and you sit outside at a cafe, they'll ask you for your pass sanitaire, they scan you. But then if you go inside to go to the bathroom, you don't need to put your mask on because you're safe, you're clear. Whereas in Italy, we still wear our masks inside, and it's still required and mandatory to wear your masks inside, but you still do need to show your pass sanitaire, your CDC card everywhere you go.
Good. Well, thank you for that update, Jennifer. Let's move along to Nina Mueller, who's in Zurich right now. Nina is our Switzerland specialist on the WOW list. And Nina, can you tell us a little bit about what the atmosphere is like right now? How open is everything in Switzerland? And what are some of the ways in which you keep travelers COVID safe there?
So actually, Switzerland has been pretty open through the whole time, and we stay quite liberal, which is fantastic. So actually, this evening was just the opening of the new art house in Zurich. So what happens is you enter, you have to show your COVID pass, and once you're inside, you can be without a mask, so you're free. So even events can happen again as long as you're vaccinated or have a recent test. Video testing is possible. So for visitors that come and need tests to be done every few days, that's something we can offer, which is very comfortable, because what you do on arrival is you meet a doctor. He gives you the kit, gives you his WhatsApp number, and whenever you need a COVID test for somewhere, you can just text him, basically do a WhatsApp video call, and you get your certificate QR code sent straight to your phone, which makes it very convenient. So you don't have to queue anywhere, you don't have to go to a pharmacy, but you can be very spontaneous about it. Switzerland Tourism has put up very strong restrictions to actually make all the tourism facilities be safe. So you can get basically like a label that they come and test you, and they actually do come and test you. So we've been in touch with many of the restaurants and also the museums and the facilities to find out. But generally, Switzerland has great outdoor experiences. So you're outside. We saw also the Christmas question, the markets and everything. It's all probably going to happen, but they're going to restrict the number of people. So I think they're trying a lot to keep everybody as safe as possible.
So how do you get into the Christmas markets if you want to?
Well, what has been happening now with the outdoor, I would say, festivities is that you just have only one entrance. There's many assumptions that are going around right now, but we believe it will be very well regulated. As you know, Switzerland loves to have it all regulated.
Sure, it'll be very efficient.
I'm sure, I hope.
Great, thank you, Nina. Let's move along to Spain and Portugal. Virginia, thank you again please, can you unmute yourself? And we're so thrilled you're joining us at 1 a.m. Are you in
Good
Madrid
morning.
right now?
No, I'm in the south of Spain, very close to Gibraltar, facing the Mediterranean, and enjoying a little bit of the freedom of being working home because of COVID. Trying to find a good thing about COVID every day.
Sure. Well, southern Spain, I mean, it stays warm there actually till pretty late in the fall, right? I mean, like, can you eat outdoors until late November or so?
I went to the beach yesterday. It was really hot. I mean, yesterday, today for you, I guess. And yeah, it cools down a little bit at night, but it's almost outdoor, everything. So this is why I felt very safe to move into the south until this is over. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, so I mean, Spain has a very high vaccination rate. I think it's something like 70, is it 78% now?
Yeah, it's almost 80 and Portugal almost 85%. Yeah.
Right,
We
and
are
that's for,
really,
but people who've gotten 2 shots.
yes, two.
Exactly.
They are beginning with the third one now, but almost 80% in Spain, almost 85% in Portugal of the people have 2 shots already. So it really feels like, I mean, COVID is there, we know, but you feel very safe, really. If you combine the idea of being a lot of the time outdoors while traveling, together with most of the people you are seeing are vaccinated. So, it really feels very safe.
And so what are some of the things that you can do out? Maybe people don't realize, for instance, that they could do wine tastings outdoors or eat tapas outdoors, or, there's so many sort of rural experiences and city experiences in Spain that you can have in the open air.
Oh yeah, and we do, and we enjoy doing. Yes, tapas. I think we all are changing a little bit the way we are enjoying tapas. Instead of jumping a million people in a crowded bar trying to get a small portion of something and a glass of wine, we most of the tapas places have outdoor space. So you go, you get there, you sit down, you order the tapas, and you taste them on a safer fashion, let's say. So, but that is just the tapas, as you were saying, and the wine tasting. But we are open air museums. When you think of Southern Europe, I mean, you can get in museums, and life is very much normal, as Jennifer was saying. Museums are open. The Sagrada in Barcelona is open. Everything is open slowly, with little amount of people allowed to enter. Now it's like all the indoors up to 75%, outdoors spaces, 100%. It really feels safe. It's being vaccinated. It's like kind of a strange miracle, but really feels very safe to be around. And we can be outdoors all the time. So really, easy.
Right, right. Well, good. Thank you, Virginia. Let's move along to Greece. Mina and Faye, it's so good to have you here, and your Zoom background there is making me very jealous. Tell us about the situation in Greece now. I mean, so many people traveled to Greece over the summer. It was seen as one of those places, you could spend all day long outdoors in the islands. Tell us about what Greece is like in the fall and winter, and how you can stay COVID safe.
So Greece is a unique destination in that most of the things that you can do are available outdoors for a lot of the year. We do have a pretty mild winter, and while a lot of the islands close and the beaches are not necessarily places that people be visiting after November, you can certainly do a lot of things everywhere outdoors. So we have outdoor dining throughout the year. All of our classical and historical sites are outdoors. For museums, of course, they are indoors, but they do remain open year round. And Greece really is a 365-day destination, which I think we often don't get recognized for.
And so is it Crete and Corfu and Rhodes that are really the main islands that you can find stuff year round?
So any island that has a large local population is going to be open year round. So that is Crete, it is Corfu, it is Rhodes. Some of the islands like Naxos don't have a lot of activities available, but they do have a population year round. So anywhere we do have people all year, you've got plenty of activities, restaurants, and just facilities to support those trips throughout the year. But typically when we do see clients traveling off season, they're focused more on the mainland, the Peloponnese, the historical and classical sites, museums, and of course the cities.
Right. And what do people ever go to Athens for the holidays? What is it like to be in Athens around Christmas, New Year's?
It's fantastic. Athens is a big city. We come alive in the winter time. I mean, when in the summer, all the locals leave Athens and go to the coasts or to their islands or their villages or whatever that is. In the winter time, everything comes alive. So all the restaurants and nightclubs, they move back to the center. We do have some really lovely markets. It's a really wonderful time to combine cities like Athens and Thessaloniki. We even have ski resorts in some of our mountains like Calabrita and Arachova, which, is not even on the radar for most American travelers.
Oh, so interesting. Who knew? Thank you so much. Let's move along to speaking of Mediterranean islands, Malta. Jason, what time is it there in Malta?
1:15 in the morning.
Okay, well, thank you so much for staying up. You actually flew to Malta today, didn't you?
Yeah, today I arrived into Malta. And I can tell you the experience was amazing. In fact, what I did is I retested our VIP arrival service, just because we use a lot of that for our clients. And really, it actually expedites your passage through from meet and greets right into they'll host you into a VIP area while they get your luggage, and then from the testing perspective, where you have to show your verify QR code, it just expedites you right through through the whole line. Today wasn't so busy, but because Tuesday being a down day, but Wednesday through the weekend it can get quite busy, and then the lines can be quite troublesome. So we tend to offer that service for a lot of our experiences when they come in here, knowing that you start on the right foot coming
Right.
in.
I know a lot of the WOW listers offer that expedited. I mean, everybody on the screen, I'm sure, offers that expedited experience at the airport, and it makes a world of difference during COVID. I know it's given a lot of people peace of mind. I'm a huge fan of Malta. I was there one December and it was sunny and warm and in the 70s. And whenever people ask, like, where can I go that's warm in Europe in winter? Like, Malta is one of those places. Tell us a little bit about what people can do that they might not realize they can do outdoors in the fall and winter, and why that's, it's an open air. And is also one thing that makes it so COVID safe is you guys have like an 84% vaccination rate. I mean,
Exactly.
double vaccinated people.
Double vaccinated, full population, just about 84% of the population. So aside from being, quite safe, we've taken this quite seriously all the way through. Just quickly in terms of visitation, everything is open here. You really don't have to. I went out for dinner tonight actually just to test the whole process, and I didn't have to show any proof of vaccination at all. You had to enter with the mask into when you're going to the loo, but outside of that, there doesn't seem to be any restrictions. We've had several clients here over the last 3 weeks. All attractions are open. Obviously the crowds are down, so that's even better. But we typically do a lot of the private stuff on the island as well. But as some of the other panelists have said, the Mediterranean, the South Mediterranean islands have become year-round destinations now. And we really promote Malta in the shoulder seasons, or if you want to say off season, because there's a lot of stuff going on. In January, we have the Baroque Festival, International Baroque Festival, which is really cool for the arts enthusiasts. From a sheer culture, historical walking experiences, our temperatures, are ranging, mid 60s up to sometimes low 70s. Obviously, sometimes it dips as you get into January, February. So it's very, very comfortable. And like I said, nothing is shut down here. It's quite safe, and the Maltese are always been hospitable, and we're just waiting for everybody to come back.
Great. Well, thank you, Jason. Moving along to another Mediterranean island, Sicily. Marcello, hello.
Hi.
Tell us about, I know that Sicily, do you feel like it's a year-round destination, or what are the months when you might not go?
I think it depends. I feel like the months all have something beautiful to offer in terms of harvest season, I mean, I always say in Italian, that the culture doesn't get cold, so the outdoor sites, the weather is usually very warm. You get rainy weather maybe in February, March, but it's beautiful sun, beautiful light, beautiful to go out in nature reserve, outdoor archaeological sites. There's a lot of food culture in the months of December, January, patron saints and festivals and that, other than just the usual kind of festivals that kind of bring people out. So I think that the tours that we've done over the years, I used to run a school for foreign exchange students for 8 years in Sicily. So we had students year round, we had families coming all the time. So, it was always kind of connecting them up with stuff. And it was never really, and it still isn't hard. I think it's more the mindset of people thinking, I'm going to travel somewhere in winter, I'm going to go skiing. You're not going to jump in the sea, but you can go, going through snow on Mount Etna and up in a beautiful winery and having wine tasting with a fireplace and great food. You can do things like that. So there's a lot of wonderful things to do in Sicily.
Right. And in terms of COVID, I mean, can you share with us like a couple of the savvy, things that you're doing to keep people COVID safe, or tips that you might have for travelers?
Yeah, I mean, I just got back. I was there for 3 months and I was there through busy August, which was really hot. So August is maybe a season that I would say, we had a 118-degree day this year, which was very hot. I was in the town that had that temperature. So but if you're going to be in the mountains and you're going to be on a boat, you're going to be by the sea, then it's 25, 30 degrees less by those places, So, we do a lot of the activities we do are outdoors, outdoor archaeological sites, wineries, farms where you're doing luncheons and stuff like that. And so a lot of the things that we do are kind of just intrinsically, naturally COVID safe. And the sites as they are now, if you go to a site like a Piazza Marina in Villa Romana, where it's packed indoors, we have sites next door to that are wide open sites, and you just time it when there's less people. Even with COVID, some spaces can get tight. So it's just working with local guides and people that we've worked with for years and timing things, creatively working with programs. We really have a great team of guides and drivers, all vaccinated, all very sensitive and grateful to do what they do and look to make people feel comfortable and safe along the way.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Marcello. And last but not least, Gwen Kozlowski, expert in Austria and other countries in Central and Eastern Europe. When you think about a place like, I'm such a huge fan of Austria and Austria's Christmas markets, but of course it can be a little chilly. But I think it still is more open air in the fall and winter that a lot of people might realize. Can you just tell us a bit about, sort of fall in Austria and countries nearby and the Christmas markets and what travelers can expect this year?
Sure, of course. Thank you for having me. Austria has officially announced that the Christmas markets will be open, which is great. They haven't decided how quite they're going to limit the number of people yet, but I'm sure they'll figure that out, whether it's a ticketing system or just a separate entrance. But people often equate cities like Vienna with just museum, but there's so much outdoor activity to do, even in the big cities. And we tend to keep guests outside with walking tours as much as possible. And that really helps. And then there are so many different day trip options to the wine country, to farmers markets, or even outside of Salzburg to go hiking in the mountains that just naturally lend themselves to social distancing. And that's not even just Austria. We can do the same thing from Krakow or from Prague or even from Dresden. There are so many nice outdoor activities to do that people don't really feel the pressure of having to mask up every time they go into a place then.
And what about dining outdoor? Is there, how late in the season, can you dine outdoors? Do they bring in heat lamps? Is there sidewalk dining in Vienna?
There's sidewalk dining in Vienna almost year round because so many of the restaurants are teeny and they kind of absorb places on the street and they have very effective street lamps. And I'm based in Florida. I am very wimpy when it comes to cold and I still find it pretty comfortable. I think the only place that is not so outdoor dining friendly in the winter with heat lamps is maybe Poland, but every place else, that's something they've embraced even before COVID, and they've only just expanded the opportunities to do that.
Mhm. Now, there's been a lot of interest in Croatia. Croatia is like one big outdoor museum. So many people were going to Croatia over the summer. And of course, like basically through the end of October. But how is it? It's really, tell us about in the wintertime, what would you do? Would you do Croatia or what would you do instead?
Croatia has this special wind that comes that is, they call it the bad wind. And it's almost hurricane force winds off of the Adriatic, which sounds so crazy. But I mean, a lot of press has been made of Zagreb and Christmas markets, but honestly, Croatia is so seasonal with restaurants and other activities that I think sometimes people may be disappointed to get to a place which is great with no tourists, but bad with no restaurants. So that's not ideal. Slovenia is a little bit different because it does have more of a four-season kind of atmosphere in their skiing and lots of outdoor activity to do in the winter. So if that area of the Adriatic is of interest, I would definitely push farther north to Slovenia.
Interesting. And so if you could choose one of these places, one of these locations for a trip over the holidays, the winter holidays, where you would feel completely safe and warm and cozy and have fun, what would you choose?
I would choose Austria hands down. And my colleague who helps me with a lot of the Wendy Perrin travelers has been on so many calls with me talking about the Austrian Christmas market. She just booked her and her mother to go. So it's magical. It's very outdoors. It's like a little fairy tale. You can go to markets in the villages that are completely different than the big city touristy ones. So it's a really great destination for that.
Great. Yeah. And you're outdoors. You're like outdoors. The Christmas markets are all outdoors. You're drinking mulled wine. So you're
the best part. Yes.
Locals are around, but you're still socially distanced.
Absolutely.
Sign me up too.
Let's go.
Okay. Great. Good. Well, okay. I think we've been through everybody now. But I know we've got some questions from the audience. And I see that. I think that Billy may be putting something up on the screen for us to look at. If it gets up, great. If it doesn't, no worries.
I will in a second.
So let me hand us over to Brooke, who is going to ask more questions of our WOW listers and everybody, listening, all of you attendees, feel free to put more questions as you have them in the Q&A box.
Yeah, so we've got some great questions already. One question a listener has is, he says he would like to visit small cities and towns away from the big cities, but does not want to rent a car. What, if any, options might be available for transportation that would provide access to the small towns and cities? I know this is true for many of these destinations, so anyone feel free to jump in and answer this.
For Malta being a very convenient island, the accessibility from, say, Valletta being our capital city to go to small villages around is, a very short distance. So, obviously private drivers, if you think of private car driving in a larger country, sitting in a car, and the time and cost may be prohibitive, but for Malta, it's very economical in comparison to that. I'm, obviously not taking away from everything else. It's just that Malta is very convenient. Also, if the public transport in Malta is definitely good as well to use. But I would look at doing a combination of both.
I'm gonna jump in because obviously Switzerland is the destination for not using private transfers or renting a car, but we have a fantastic public transportation system. It is still mandatory to use masks. However, for instance, in places like the Glacier Express, they have this new excellence class now where you sit so far away from the other people that you're automatically social distance, and then also you can go first class. So actually public transportation is the way to go in Switzerland, no matter if COVID or not COVID.
And I would second what Nina says as well, because in Austria and Germany, and even to some extent in the Czech Republic, with careful planning on the actual route, it can be done by train. It's just, you have to think about it carefully first and make sure it all matches, but it's all doable.
So it sounds like public transportation is an option. And I'm sure all of you can arrange private drivers, probably all vaccinated as well, and may or may not be mask requirements, but the travelers can rest assured that they're somewhere safe. Let's see, we have a couple questions about France. I think someone maybe came in a little late. Jennifer, could you briefly go back to the special health sanitary pass that is needed in France and tell us about that?
Sure, absolutely. There's a website that you can register your CBC card and that you're coming to France. And we suggest that you apply right away as soon as you know that you're coming. And some people get the EU digital health pass, the pass sanitaire, immediately, and some people have it on hold for a month or so. We've had clients on the ground that get it while they're walking around traveling. So there's, like I said, there's no really, rhyme or reason to, how they're distributing or allocating the passes, but everybody must upload their information and register using this website. Do you want me to put it into the chat, the website?
Sure, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay. Because this is where, let me just send it to everybody. This is the website that you need to register.
Great.
There you go.
Excellent. Yeah. And then beyond that, you also have a private or a pharmacist on the ground who can help.
We do. If you don't get the pass before you arrive and you want to have the pass while you're there, you can go to this particular pharmacist and they'll convert it for you. And basically it's a document. Actually, I have a copy of mine. I could show you one second. Oh no. Sorry. This is what you would get, and you'll see the QR code here. And then you get an app on your phone. It's TOUS, so 2 anti-COVID. And you download that, you take a picture of this, and you're all set, and you're on your way. It's very easy.
Great. And there was also a question about obtaining tickets to the special Louis Vuitton exhibition. Is it possible to get an excellent curator to provide a tour?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have contacts with the LV Foundation. We had a call yesterday with Gwen with her the Exeter team, because it's a fantastic exhibit that's coming to the LV Foundation, it's coming from 3 different Russian museums. For the first time, they'll all be in the same place at the LV Foundation until the end of February, about the end.
And
So
I know-
starting very soon. That will be a hot ticket. Absolutely.
Jennifer, you seem to always have a way to get those hot tickets and to know the right people to get you in past the lines and such.
Yeah.
We've had some questions about transit rules, getting from country to country. There are a lot of details about entry requirements in an article that we have on our website, which Billy, if you could put that in the chat, that would be helpful. And I can tell you that if you work with any of the people on the screen right now, they will help with all of those details of getting into the country, making sure you have the right paperwork to get in, and then to get out, to get back into the US, setting up COVID tests, the right kind of COVID tests you need to come back into the US. Maybe Virginia, could you talk a little bit about traveling from country to country, since you cover both Spain and Portugal? Have you had travelers that are going from one to the other, and what's that like?
It's just very easy to drive and all of a sudden you are in Spain or in Portugal. So you need to show your COVID vaccination proof as you enter Spain. And once you are inside, you won't be asked to show it anywhere. You can go to restaurants or anywhere else. I mean, not a problem. So you just put in your handbag and you don't use it again. And in Portugal, it's the same. Americans need also to prove a test that they are okay. So it's the proof of vaccination plus the test. And that will be it. And that is changing in November when Portuguese are able to get back in the US. So the Portugal government is taking that out. So once you are inside Spain of Portugal bubble, you are inside, you just drive. It's not a problem, it's not a difference. It's like it was pre-COVID. Very, very similar. You just don't realize you're in a different country, if you know what I mean. So it's as easy as that.
And Virginia, we have a listener who wants to know, what is the status of traveling to the Canary Islands because of the volcano erupting?
Oh my God, that is amazing. And it's really big. And it's been like that for 2 weeks. And we are all worried watching TV. The island is called La Palma. And it has the big eruption in one of the volcanoes. And you hear it and it's there, but the airport is open. So really you can get in, get out. There's only one international flight getting in there at the moment. I couldn't go there on holidays. I don't think it is the time to really be there, but you could if you want. But it's not really the time to get there. I mean, we are all just hoping it's over soon. But it's the nature of this island, you know. I think it's the part of it is what it is. I mean, the entire island was made out of volcanoes coming out, so makes sense.
Thanks, Virginia. Gwen, we have some questions about the Austrian Christmas markets. When do they open? And because many people might think that they go to Christmas markets in the time we all have off from work and school between Christmas and New Year's, and you might be sorely disappointed if you show up on the 26th. And where do you recommend starting the journey?
So in Vienna, that's one of the earliest places, and they start to open because there are several, but they start to open around November 16th or so. Most of them run through November 23rd December 23rd or 4th, although some now reopen as New Year's markets, but not all of them. I personally like combining a big city with a small city. So I like doing Vienna Salzburg. And the key is to make sure that you're in Salzburg when one of the countryside markets is open. And so we just look at what the dates are and then make a recommendation based on that, because they're open sort of like for long weekends. They're not open during the week. But if you're combining two cities like Vienna, Prague, it doesn't matter. However you get the bus flight schedule works.
Great. And we have another question from a listener who's wondering is Montenegro safe to travel? I know that's not maybe your main area of expertise, but can you speak to Montenegro and the situation there?
Sure. The answer is yes. Most guests are going to Montenegro to be at a beach resort, and this is naturally outdoors. Montenegro does not have a ton of indoor museums. It's a very outdoor focused country. A lot of water activities or even hiking or mountain biking, just inland a little bit. So where the bulk of travelers want to go, which is along the coast, I wouldn't hesitate to send anyone right now.
We've had a question about getting health insurance. This traveler is asking about insurance to cover me during a trip to France. I don't believe France has any requirements for health insurance, but some countries do require that you show proof of insurance, but many do not. Of course, it's still a smart thing to get for COVID and for all sorts of other things that could befall you during a trip. Billy can put an article that we've written about travel insurance and the things to think about, especially during COVID, what elements of a policy you want to look for. The answer is different for every individual. There's not one policy that is going to be the best choice for every person going to France. So it's not possible to give one single answer, but hopefully that article can help you kind of figure out which questions to ask, and send you to some websites out there that aggregate policies from a number of different suppliers, so that you can choose the right one for you. Let's see what else we have here. Are spas fully available in Austria, Germany, and Italy? So I guess Gwen, Jennifer, can you speak to spa treatments? That's an interesting thing to think about with COVID restrictions and masks and such.
Yes, yeah, as long as you have the
Yes.
EU health pass.
And we don't have that in my destinations yet. We're not so advanced. But the spas are open. I think the only thing that they would limit is if it's some of the public spas, like in Hungary, where it's more like a group situation where they're limiting the number of people.
When I say the EU pass, I mean the CDC card basically for Italy, but they do ask for it when you enter. Also, a lot of hotels, if you want to exercise, they do ask for a reservation rather than just being able to enter the gym at the hotel.
Wendy, do you have some more questions that were submitted ahead of time that you'd like to chime in with?
Well, you know, I think, you know, so many people have so many misperceptions about the situation in Europe now. And I hope that everyone on the screen, we're kind of trying to set the record straight, because there's just so much misinformation that's been flying around out there in the US media. You know, so many people who I know personally are kind of like, have all kinds of ideas about what could befall them if they, you know, like, oh my gosh, what if we go and then we test positive and we can't come back to the United States? And yet, you know, I have heard of extremely few. I've heard of basically 2 travelers to whom that's happened out of thousands and thousands of travelers who have been to Europe over the past few months. And I think some people are worried about, like, you know, oh, you know, if we get quarantined, we're going to have to go to some government facility, and they don't realize that, no, actually, you can stay in your 5-star hotel and quarantine there in a lot of countries. So I just think that there are misperceptions out there, and I'm just wondering if any of you experts with us tonight, can you speak to some of the most common misperceptions that you hear from travelers and try to set them straight? Who has something to offer in terms of like what travelers who call you and like ideas they have, they're just like, what are they thinking? Mina and Faye?
Yeah, there's just a lot of fear and concern about getting stuck and not being able to return. And in Greece, you have the option of staying in your hotel, or there is a government hotel as well where everything is paid for, where you would stay until you have 2 consecutive negative tests. We've had no clients test positive, and it really hasn't been a concern. So, you know, when we do get those calls, it's really kind of right now just working from our track record that we've had so many clients coming through this season. And it just really hasn't been an issue at all. So it's really just fear that is, you know, continued after what we've experienced the past year. That has kind of no validity and no base in reality.
Well, that's the thing. I think that there's like, you know, there'll be an article that everybody will read that will, like, you know, one extreme case, and people think, oh my God, this happens, it's going to happen to me, it's going to happen all the time. Whereas the chance is actually, the actual is very, very, very small in terms of what's actually happened. Does anybody else have any misperceptions that they want to try to set the record straight on?
I mean, I've been asked, where are we sent? Because I think some people think they're sent to some like secret government facility or something like this. But in fact, I know in my destinations, and as Virginia mentioned, you can just return to your hotel or any hotel that has room set aside for that. And I've even had unvaccinated children traveling this summer who had to be tested every 3 days going through Austria, and it was still all fine. So, I mean, yes, it's something to think about, but I don't think it's like the giant glaring issue that the media might make it out to be.
think I can confirm that because one is always scared about the testing and it sounds so annoying, but there's really ways that I believe everyone us here at this panel talk can just make it more of a comfortable thing also in the hotel rooms, in dedicated appointments with video. So I think this fear of being tested, and then also I'm sure we all have a good backup plan in case there would be a positive test. As Wendy mentioned before, we have discussed before, actually we were all lucky enough to never have the case really, except very few. However, even then we can be there and support you as a traveler and give you the assistance required in order to return healthy and safe as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that, people are concerned about is testing and getting tested. And, all over the island, there are nurses that are like traveling around from different labs. They can come meet you at your hotel before an excursion and make it pretty seamless. And then, you get the results to your email address and continue on with booking your checking in for your flight and all that kind of stuff. Worst case scenario, I always think that if I had to quarantine somewhere, I'd like to be a villa up on Etna with all the wine I wanted. So I'm just like, that's a good bad case scenario. But the testing wise, it's very easy and happens in flow with your journey in most cases. So that's pretty easy. And I think that's something that people are very concerned about when they're on this end of things.
I think they're very concerned because we had so many problems with testing in the United States, and we still do. Testing, there's not nearly enough testing here. It's been an issue throughout the pandemic, and yet in Europe, especially Western Europe, there's so much more testing. But also, I think a lot of travelers don't realize that to get back into the US, all you need is an antigen test. And there's an at-home, I mean, that's what I do when I go to Europe. I've used it so many times now for going to my kids' school campuses and everything else. It's just an easy antigen test that you take it home, and in 15 minutes, and that's all you need to get back into the United States. So you can order it in advance, throw it into your suitcase, do it in your hotel room as long as you have internet, so that you can be online with the people, and then get a record, an email certificate saying, I tested negative.
Wendy, on that, I think you need to check with your carrier, with your airline, if they'll accept that test or not, because we had a problem in France that the French carriers or the French government, they won't accept the at-home test. You have to do the testing in France.
Is it that they insist on a PCR test as opposed to antigen?
No, because it's a US government rule to return. It's just that the French airlines or the airport people that are checking the tests, they're not accepting the at-home tests.
That's a really great point, is that it's the airlines who are checking the test results. It's not the US. It's not when you get to the US that anybody's checking. Yeah. It's the airline that you're flying to get from the country back into the US. So that's whose rules you want to check about what test you need or what documentation you need to get back on your flight.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's only like 20 euros, 25 euros max to have a nurse come to your hotel and provide you with the test, show them your passport, leave them your email address, and you have it in half an hour. I mean, it's so easy and you don't have to even think about it either. And in Italy, in Sicily, it's very easy. I mean, I have 5 or 6 nurses in different parts of the island. They just show up at your hotel, and a lot of hotels are doing it like that as well. Even if they're not, it's easy to set up.
Any other? Yes.
I was trying to say that I get it. I would be very scared to fly to New York tomorrow or to San Francisco alone. But I think it's the right time to travel with a local in your pocket. I mean, there's no problem to go to Greece. You have these ladies taking care of you. If anything happens, we are here. So it's just the moment to travel with somebody, not to be alone. So travel with WendyPerrin.com, travel with one of us. So if I'm going to New York and I have somebody that is going, I can call that will help me. That's okay. We only had of the many travelers two travelers that got positive. They are in a 5-star hotel, and they can even order Michelin-star restaurant food. So, they just have to be there 10 days and test negative, and they can go. I mean, it's as simple as that. And if they are traveling with somebody else that is not positive, the other person can move. I mean, they don't have to stay everybody in the hotel. So it's just a question of traveling with somebody that can help you, that I wouldn't be scared of traveling.
Great. Are there any other misperceptions or misinformation that any of you all would like to try to sort of set the record straight on? Not right now? Okay, well, what other questions do we have coming in? There are some questions about combining destinations and combining countries, and I'd love to hear from each of you. It seems like for some parts of Europe and parts of the world, it's okay if you want to combine countries. Like Virginia, what you were saying about combining Spain and Portugal is actually quite easy. But I think there are other country combinations that some travelers are thinking about that really are not, like, this is a complicated time when there can be a lot of logistics to combining 2 or 3 different countries with all the requirements and the testing and everything. And so in a lot of cases, it makes sense to this is the time, just choose one country. There's usually so much more in every country than people realize exists there. So many travelers try to bite off much more than they can chew. And then once they get to a destination, they're like, why didn't I, carve out more time to spend just in this one spot I love? But I'd love to hear from you all, how easy, do you recommend combining your destination with other places? Or do you think, no, really, this is the time to just concentrate on, like, for instance, Jennifer, would you recommend that people combine France and Italy? Or would you say, no, just do one or the other right now?
We've been doing a lot of France and Italy combination since June. Pre-COVID, London and Paris was our top combination itinerary. But since June, it's been France and Italy combination, absolutely. And it's quite simple, except that you do need to know the rules of each country. So whenever I go to France to return to Italy, I always make sure I have an antigen test to get back into Italy, because they do require that technically to enter. Have I been checked for it? No, both times that I've traveled back and forth, I haven't been asked for it, but it's just best to be safe than sorry. So I feel more, and like Marcello and everybody said, it's so easy to go to the pharmacy and get a quick test, or have a nurse come to your house or your hotel and have a quick test done. So again, rather be safe than sorry and not get on a flight and have to stay an extra night somewhere. I get the test done anyway, and you fill out the right paperwork, and it's very easy and simple to do. So, but
what about combining England with either of those? England with France or with Italy, or all three?
We're starting to, for the future, we are starting to again, but again, it's a matter of knowing the rules in each country and making sure that everything is very orderly and precise. A couple of months ago, I was a bit more concerned about, Switzerland and France or Italy in combination, because Switzerland didn't open when France and Italy did, and it's not part of the EU. So until they were up and running again, I was a bit nervous. Now I'm not as nervous anymore, worried about it. But with ski season approaching and combining we had last ski season that everything was closed and we really couldn't go to Switzerland to ski from Italy. So, I mean, it's just a matter of, thinking things through and looking at the current rules and making sure that you honor and follow what the rules are. And then it's quite easy to do.
Which can be tricky when the rules keep changing.
Well, yes, of course. But then we just, change things around accordingly. We were working on a trip for a client, a non-vaccinated client. He originally started that they wanted to do 4 countries. They wanted to do England, Switzerland, Italy, and France, and ended up getting COVID. So then he was actually safe to fly because he had the antibodies. But the only country that would accept them was Italy in the end. So so from going from 4 countries, they went to 1. They came to Italy.
Wow.
Mm.
Gwen, tell us about, would you recommend just focusing on one country at a time, or are there certain combinations of countries that would actually be surprisingly easy, you think?
I think most of our destinations are surprisingly easy to move between the countries if you're vaccinated. So vaccinated travelers, no problem. And I would say probably 75% of the trips I do are multi-country. Austria, Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary, Austria, Germany. The only kind of trick in my area right now is Hungary, because they somehow like to be difficult. And if you are vaccinated and entering by land or sea, no problem. If you are vaccinated and entering by air, you have to have a 3-day test. And so we're just routing accordingly when we can. But I have people cross those borders on trains and with private drivers and even self-drive, and there have been no issues. But the key is the vaccination. So when when they're unvaccinated kids or even unvaccinated adults, that just adds a whole different level of complexity to it, if it's even possible.
Mina and Faye, what about combining Greece with other countries? Have you been doing a lot of that, or really just focusing on Greece?
Typically we see a lot more country combinations with Greece and Turkey, or Greece and Italy, Greece and Croatia. This season, it's been kind of a mix. I mean, we did go through a period where we were recommending sticking to one destination because Greece was so much more lenient in terms of the terms. And especially in August, when the EU was starting to change the terms, or recommended changing the terms and making, specifically for vaccinated travelers. So we've gone more towards single destinations, but we are seeing longer trips. And typically in those longer trips, we are seeing people wanting to add, say, a week or 10 days in another destination as well. And in that case, we can always make it work. And it really is just kind of knowing what the rules are and making sure that all the information that you're working with is current.
I see somebody's asking about, what about Croatia and Montenegro as a combination? Once the bad winds are over and the good winds are back.
Yes, in April. In April, when you should go back. Yes, that's a border that we drive over. And in the past, it's sometimes been backed up just for passport control. This year, everybody that we've had drive over that border has had to show their passports, and a couple times they've had to get out of the car. Don't know why, but that's it. Again, vaccinated travelers, no problem. Croatia was accepting and still is unvaccinated guests. So that made a little fun testing requirement before getting into Montenegro. But other than that, it's not an issue to drive over that border.
Then
I would say, in terms of combining, let's not forget about the little spot in the Mediterranean, great hub and spoke from, not to mention that we do actually have 3 islands in Malta, Maltese Islands, Gozo. If you're looking to extend your stay, we can definitely do that. But we're only 90 minutes from Sicily, and we do a lot of combinations with Sicily and Marcello, 35-minute flight, direct flights into Athens as well, into Istanbul. So Malta can be your hub and spoke destination as well. And we're seeing a lot of that from a lot of the WendyPerrin travelers as well, coming into festive season. And even we've got a couple booked for next year that are looking at
interesting. That. So you can actually kind of have a Mediterranean extravaganza for the holidays.
Absolutely. Yep. We've got a beautiful Malta, Sicily, Sardinia program.
Cool.
Yeah, we just hop, skip, and a jump, and we end up back in Rome.
Speaking of the holidays, that's another point that Brooke and I probably would want you all to know, is that so many travelers are reaching out to us now about desperate to find places they've near the US, sort of warm, sunny places for the winter holidays. And the problem is that because of the pandemic and supply and demand is so off, availability is very slim and prices are soaring for whatever is still available for the sort of Christmas, New Year's period, that peak period. And that's one reason why I would really encourage people to think about Europe for that holiday period this year. I think you'll get more value for your dollar for sure. Let's see if we have any just last late breaking questions here. Brooke, are there any more that any questions you'd like to ask, or any more you'd like to ask from the Q&A?
There are questions about skiing and sledding. Maybe we could talk a little bit, maybe Gwen and Nina, and maybe Jennifer, if they can talk briefly about the skiing options in your countries.
Sure. I mean, in Austria, the ski season really starts picking up in around January. It's possible to ski over the holidays, but it's not like Denver where you can go in November and start skiing, but it's definitely going to be open, and there are multiple resorts that are available to guests. So that's definitely an option.
So you might have heard that Switzerland was the only destination in Europe that left the ski resorts open. And we do have all year round skiing. So it's a safe bet if I can bring that out. But we would say actually it's going to snow this weekend down to 1,700 meters. So we're very excited that it might be a fantastic snow season, staying optimistic about it. So I do recommend things are getting booked also in the holiday seasons, because people believe that the conditions here will be amazing and the resorts open.
And the same, I mean, here we have the stunning Dolomites, which open, December through March, April, and then also the French Alps. So skiing is always a very popular trip and a very popular thing to do in, the winter season, of course, but it's, everything hopefully will be open again this year.
Virginia, I once went skiing in the Sierra Nevada in Andalusia. And Mina and Faye, you were mentioning that there's even skiing in Greece.
There is skiing in Greece. It's definitely not the level of skiing that you see in Switzerland or in Austria, but there are some options for people who are, maybe not very advanced skiers. So yes, we do have options, and we can definitely combine them with classical sites or with, villages and other great destinations throughout the country.
Well, in Sicily, you can ski on Mount Etna, and I don't know many places you can actually ski on an active volcano, but you can ski. They redid the ski slopes after 2002, when you can actually tour those one day and you can see where the volcano engulfed them, and then you can go skiing on the route. But I think one of the things that's nice to do in the holiday season is villa rentals, and there's some really beautiful villa rentals with fireplaces, and you can do wine tastings and go skiing and really kind of living. It's not the level of snow skiing, obviously, you have in other areas, of course. But for kids to play in the snow and a family to be in a winter wonderland on Etna, you can do that. So, and I think I kind of feel that this year, once we started this promotion with working towards kind of off-season type of stuff, that doing something that's a little bit more rooted and kind of like basing yourself in a villa for a week. You might combine it with 3 or 4 days of traveling around, but it's even COVID friendly like that. You can stay in a villa and do things that are kind of spoked from the center place. I think that kind of feels more holiday even like that. So I think those are things that we're kind of exploring with guests that have come through the promotion that are thinking of coming in January and in December.
Right, like having the whole family together in one house so that they're socially distanced, but from the rest of the world, but still together. That seems particularly safe these days, I think, that kind of privacy.
Yeah, I mean, you can have like cooking classes and, go swimming in the pool and go skiing on Etna, and then you can see the Mediterranean Sea down below. So you're just a hop, skip, and a jump away that. You're not going to go swimming, but, you can look at it. You can see, you can go to it.
Right. Well, there's a lot of holiday ideas there. And I want to thank all of you so much for joining us. All of you audience members and travelers, and also all of you wonderful travel experts from our WOW list. We so appreciate your staying up late there in Europe to be with us and answer so many questions and share your brilliant insights. So thank you. And again, anybody who wants to learn about our Europe exclusive, just go to WendyPerrin.com. You can, you have until, again, it's like you have 10 more days basically to look at all of the options and take advantage of this rare opportunity. If you have any questions at all, of course, you can always reach out to us at questions@WendyPerrin.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. Take good care, everybody. Thanks so much. See you next time.